sharing our stories connects us. Listen and be connected. Join us for the conversation meeting weekly at the intersection of community and culture. Hosted by Mario Nunez and Joe King Carter. And it's Wednesday midday. If it's Wednesday afternoon and it's midday, you know what time it is, right? What time is it, y'all?
Yeah.
It's the conversation time. It's WMNF 88.5 FM, WMNF.org. If you're listening, say, in London, where the time is now 5 o'clock. Is that possible?
Hi, mate.
What time? Hello. What time is it in Cali right now? Cali, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. So if you're just having your second cup of coffee and you're tuning into WMNF.org, welcome to the conversation. I'm one of your two hosts, Mario Nunez. I'm seated alongside my broadcast partner,
Joe King Carter.
He's there. He's
Yes.
ready, willing, and
We are the show
able.
that was heard around the world.
Thank you, Joey. Thank
There
you
you go.
for that. I don't know if it's true, but we're going to keep saying it
Well,
until
we're on the internet, so there we are.
it becomes true. And for those of you that are tuning in also on Facebook Live, welcome. Spread the word. We'd love to hear from you today. Today we've got a wonderful guest in studio. We're going to tease this out. Last week, if you remember, we had Miss Diane Egner. She is the publisher of 83 Degrees. I was almost going to say 88.5 again. It just rolls off the tongue. 83 Degrees. And we had an enlightening and wonderful conversation with her. We learned so much about her. What a terrific story she had to tell.
Oh, absolutely.
And so today we're going to learn from one of her colleagues, one of her disciples, one of her apostles, lady who writes for the 83 Degrees News print media.
Among many other things.
Yes, and we're going to find that out too. Her name is Allison Kohler. We're going to get to her in just a second. But Joey, how was your week?
Well, it's a torrential downpour of strangeness out there, isn't it?
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. And listen, I want to say to our listening audience that if you don't want to be so exhausted, one way to do that is to become self-actualized. And the way to do that is if you're having problems with what you're seeing happening in this administration and in your country, call your representative, call your senator, your congressman, call that person, and email those individuals and make your voice known, because by doing so, you affect the outcome of the karmic results and you feel better about yourself because you did something.
I think that Joe's words, and here, let me ring a bell on that. Joey's words are resonant because this weekend on Saturday, we saw that. Over 13,000 demonstrations in cities big and small, townships and hamlets. We saw everybody taking to the streets with their homemade signs. It was very, very uplifting. I don't know how you felt about it, Joey. We hadn't talked about it since then, but it gives one hope. I heard either it was a pundit or maybe it was even somebody that they interviewed on the street that said, it's as if, I know who said it, Cory Booker.
Okay.
I know who said it, Cory Booker. He said it on Stephen Colbert. He said that it's as if someone lit a candle in the dark, right?
Yes.
So, we're not saying it's a bright light. Hopefully soon it will be. But as of this moment, at least there's a flicker, that proverbial flicker of hope.
Yes. And keep in mind, folks, that there are people, mostly men, of course, who are in power right now, who they don't believe in democracy, and democracy is a problem. And those individuals would rather you be complacent, because if you just sit around and do nothing, then they get to win at their agenda. So you know what? This is not a call to action. It's just to say, be involved, vote, make your voice known, and you'll make a difference.
I will say this, that I'll shift gears just slightly. Thank you, Joy, for that commentary, and say a couple of things. Number one, personal point of pride. Tomorrow, April 10th, is my mother and father's 77th. Did you fall off the couch? 77th wedding anniversary. And for those of you that can't do math that quickly, they were married April 10th, 1948. Okay, so wow, right? Yeah, they're both still with us. They're both still vibrant and alive, and they're soon to be 97 and soon to be 95. Two things have to happen, Joey, for you to get to that milestone. One thing is you have to start incredibly early, which they did, you know, 20 and 18.
Right.
And the second thing is you have to live And I'll just stop right there because you have to live. You have to survive. You have to avoid calamity, accident, illness. You just have to live an incredibly long life. So kudos to mom and dad. There's a third lesser known fact.
I see a third thing they have to do.
The third thing that you have to avoid is getting that frying pan across your forehead in the middle of the night. Because after 77 years, brother, there ain't nothing that you don't know about your mate, and there ain't nothing that you don't know about that trigger button.
Oh, I honor anyone who's in a partnership, a marriage, whatever you want to call it, for any length of time. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. You know, you have to be committed.
Congratulations to mom and dad. So, you know, and I am their bouncing baby boy who will soon be 67 in September. So wrap your head around that.
Wow.
I'm almost 67. My oldest brother's 75, and we still have our parents here.
That's amazing.
It's amazing.
Fantastic.
So you heard that voice, wonderful voice. Let's introduce her to you now. Joey, please do the honors.
Well, we have with us today writer-journalist Allison Kohler.
Hi, Allison.
And welcome. There
she is.
There it is. And so, Allison, what we do here is we talk about you for a while.
Nice.
So let's start in the very beginning. Where did you grow up?
I was born and raised just outside of Cleveland, Ohio. So,
Shaker Heights? I don't know too much about Cleveland, except
Right.
that, there's one place, is a place called Shaker Heights.
Shaker Heights, that is not too far from where I was born and raised. So I always tell people I was born between the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Cedar Point. I don't know if you know what Cedar Point is.
Nice.
Great amusement park. Because nobody knows where Lorain, Ohio is. So I just never say Lorain. I just say Cleveland.
And Cedar Point was a place to go to have a great time.
Oh, yeah.
One of those legendary amusement parks.
Great childhood memories
There
at
you
Cedar
go.
Point for sure. I think everybody could say
Siblings?
that. Yeah, I actually have one older brother. Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because I'm adopted. So I found my birth mom when I was like 21 years old. Through a search angel. There's people that volunteer. Somehow they have access to like databases. I'm like, I'm not going to ask questions.
As a journalist, you're not asking those questions.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, so she found my birth mom fairly quickly. My birth mom didn't know who my father was, right? So I didn't know. 23andMe, I decided like for a long time I went on Ancestry to try and find him. Didn't have any luck there. Just recently, I went on 23andMe, and they literally 2 weeks later, they're like, "We're going bankrupt." I'm like, "Oh crap!"
Yeah.
But anyway, long story short, ended up finding my birth father. He's no longer with us, unfortunately. But I find out that I have 2 sisters and a brother.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is a very familiar story for me.
I was almost going to ring a bell on it.
Yeah,
I
because
didn't know
I
if it
did,
was appropriate or not, but
Right,
this,
yeah.
I don't want to capture your moment, but I just
Right.
want to let you know that I, too, united with my biological family. For me, it's just relatively recently, in the last
Right.
3.5 years.
Nice.
And I went through 23andMe.
Yeah, okay.
And I also had siblings that are no longer here.
you also had an advocate that helped you in that
And
journey.
I also had an angel that helped me.
Nice.
So
Wow, similar, very
yeah,
similar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's, and what came out of all that for me was the realization that so many people in the world do not enter in some nuclear family where everybody's normal.
Right.
That
Are you using air quotes around normal there, Joey? Because,
I am because I guess I grew up thinking because of television and I grew up together. I just kind of thought that everybody was sort of in a
Mayberry RFD?
Yeah, they were all on the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Right.
And so, finding out that so many people are the result of some kind of blending of family is fascinating. So there you are.
Yeah.
So you found this out.
Yeah.
Now, did your parents tell you this early in life?
Yeah. I knew, I've known for so long, I don't remember when they told me.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
They were very supportive. I grew up, so lucky that I was adopted, right? Because the situation obviously, wasn't great. Because, there's a reason why my birth mom put me up for adoption.
Right.
Super grateful that she did because I grew up in a great family. Yeah, I have an older brother who's also adopted. He lives in Columbus, Ohio. We had a wonderful upbringing. Super supportive. And they were very supportive of me wanting to find, because you have to be a certain age. The way it works, you have to be 18 to find the service will give you non-identifying information. Literally, everything's redacted. You don't know anything, But somehow that search angel was able to find my birth mom and she lived when I mapped it out. because I was like 20, so I was living with my soon-to-be husband at the time. I mapped it out on Google. She lived less than a mile from me.
Wow.
That's always the case.
Crazy.
Not always the case. I digress.
Right,
It's
yeah.
often,
But
it's
it's
often the case.
Yeah,
Often
yeah,
that you're
yeah.
not that far from them
Right.
your entire life.
Yeah.
So growing up as someone who knew you were adopted, just kind of give me the feeling base of that. Is that sort of like you had profound, what did you have? Appreciation for the fact
Gratitude.
that you were?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I didn't know, when I found out I was adopted, I didn't know what my situation was, like why I was put up for adoption. So,
Right.
but I did kind of wonder, like, it didn't seem like there were a lot of people around me that were adopted, you know what I mean? And you sort of, when you do share that, people are all like, ooh, weird, or there's
Different.
interest. Right,
Yeah,
it's
right.
different. So you do kind of feel like you're different, you know what I mean, among
Sure.
the people that are natural families and things. But yeah, but it was great. I had friends who knew, you know what I mean? But and I actually have I have one really good friend that I've known since I was 6 months old, who's also adopted. And then as I went throughout life, I ended up meeting people. I somehow, I would tell them I was adopted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't just tell everybody, but
Right.
yeah. So I ended up finding people that were adopted as well. So it's
Sure.
it's a connection.
Interesting part of your story, Allison, is that your brother was adopted as well.
Right.
So, people listening are probably leaning in, going, "Well, was it a question of your parents, I should say, couldn't have their own biological children? Maybe perhaps your mother or your father.
Right.
Either way.
Yep.
But the story could have gone another way. They could have been the kind of people that said, well, we can't, and we'll just concentrate on ourselves and our nieces and nephews.
Right.
But they wanted to have a family, so they went out and made one. They got
Right,
one.
yeah, exactly.
How cool is that?
Yeah, very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
My parents
you know that you
You're
are
wanted
wanted
and loved.
Yes,
in a way
exactly.
that is even different than a biological family.
Right,
100%.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't really imagine what it would have been like if I was not, if my birth mom didn't have the guts,
Yes.
to be able to part with me. you know?
Another part of that story is that part that has to do with that other side where the birth mother or birth parents make that decision, which some people would judge in a critical way, when in fact sometimes it's a great act of courage.
Right,
100%.
exactly. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very courageous move that she made for sure.
Yeah.
We hear that all the time, Joey, and we'll push the story along, the narrative along. But this just to keep with this theme that the tragic endings to some small baby's life because the mom doesn't know what to do, doesn't have that courage,
Absolutely.
and they'll dispose of the
Right.
young baby, and and it's horrible. Then that's a horrible outcome.
Or what much worse is the social pressure and the family pressure within your own tribe that says to you, well, you can't have a baby, or that baby is not legitimate, or some other critical
myriad of
judgment.
reasons,
Yeah.
sure.
And there's lots of reasons why young women are put in that position. So it's a horrible place to be.
So the next question we like to ask you,
Yeah.
Allison, is
Yeah.
okay. Now you're in grade school, and you're running around with your friends in the neighborhood and riding your bike and
Yeah.
jumping on the monkey bars and doing those things.
Yeah.
Do we still have monkey bars?
They did when I was a
Do we
kid.
still call them
I don't
monkey
know.
bars?
Right, yeah, probably not.
Well, you're dating
that was
yourself.
canceled.
You're
That was
dating
canceled.
yourself.
Well, that's dangerous. Were
Right,
you?
yeah.
Nobody wore a helmet either. By
No.
the way,
Yeah.
were you a good student? Did you fancy yourself a good student?
It depends. So I have ADHD. So and
We
when
have it. We have it. Joe and I
right,
have it.
Yeah. So I was.
That's
one
why
of
we're here on
those-
the radio.
Yeah, right. So I was one of those kids who was running all over the place. You know what I
Right.
mean? My teachers were always, trying to get me to calm down, and I really couldn't, and things like that. I was average. You know what I mean? Like I liked things like English and history. Wasn't really good at like math and science. You know what I mean? But
Liberal
but
arts.
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I enjoyed school. I just didn't, I wasn't like a nerd or anything.
I'm
Didn't really
looking
get
at
into
you,
it.
and people on the radio can't see you, but we can see you here in the studio. And I'm thinking, I bet she was. I bet she wasn't last picked for kickball or softball.
Right,
I bet you
no.
were a pretty good little athlete when you were a youngster.
Yeah, I played softball.
There
I was a big
you
softball
go.
fan. Played softball. I wasn't good enough to play for
Like your high
the
school?
The school, but I
Right.
played for the city.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I
But
was,
you liked
I was a
athletics.
catcher.
You
yeah, I
enjoyed
did.
athletics.
I really liked athletics. Yeah, I've always been into. One thing I didn't do was I love football. Football is like the cream of the crop for me. And I never, now I probably could. If I'd grown up now,
Flag
I'd probably
football.
play football.
Oh no, you'd be
Right,
you'd be on the,
yeah.
you'd be the
Oh,
captain of
yeah.
the flag football
Right,
team.
exactly.
But don't bury the lead here, because for those that were listening, and I know Tito's out there listening, leaning really close to. I believe you said you were the catcher.
Yes, I was a catcher.
Because
Yes.
for me, women's softball, and I watch it every year
yeah.
religiously, especially in August and July and August when they have the College World Series Division One.
Mm-hmm.
You always get to see the battery, you get to see the pitcher, the catcher. You see the pitcher from behind most times. The camera shots in
Right.
center field,
Yeah.
and you really get to see the catcher work.
Yeah. Oh,
and for
yeah.
me, I mean, my oldest brother was a catcher in baseball. I was an infielder, but I always just appreciated, and especially the girls, because they are as good as the boys. I
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
don't care what you have to say,
Right.
and they have to be as smart and they have to be as talented. So kudos to you, my dear lady,
Yeah,
because
thank
that's
you.
not an easy position to play.
No, it's not. No.
So
Joey,
you
I
go through
digress.
school.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you go through
it's fine.
school, and
Uh-huh.
now we're graduating. What happens next?
Yeah. So I graduated from high school. I never wanted to go to college. My brother he was going to college, and he was like, "Oh, you've got to." It was sort of a time where you couldn't get, oftentimes you couldn't find a solid job if you didn't go to college.
Right.
But I decided not to anyway, because that's just kind of how I do. I'm just like, if people are going right, I'm going left. But so
I like that.
Right,
Of
right.
course.
Yeah. So
let me
I
do
ended
that
up
for
getting,
that.
Thank you.
Of course.
I ended up getting a job right out of high school, working for a local newspaper. Literally the paper I grew up reading and doing crossword puzzles and looking at cartoons and things. Ended up getting a job. It was a daily newspaper at the time, small daily newspaper, as an editorial assistant. So I was 18 years old, right out of high school, working for a newspaper, and it was a great job. I got to do like a myriad of things, and I learned how to type. I didn't know.
Wow,
I used,
on the fly.
I used a typewriter as a kid because I was always writing things, but I never really knew how to fly. You know what I mean? And now I can
Right.
fly like 80 words
Fly,
per minute.
there
Yeah,
it is.
exactly.
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, I loved that gig. Worked there for 3 years.
And what was that? And in that
Yeah.
gig, what were you?
Yeah.
what were you doing?
Everything. So, so probably the most interesting part, I sat at the top of the stairs where people would come up and, if they were upset about a newspaper story or if they wanted to submit something, I was kind of the greeter of the newsroom. But the editor of the newspaper, I was his assistant, so I would do administrative things, take dictation, things like that. But the most interesting thing is I would type obituaries.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
And you're
back
18
in the
at
day,
the time.
Right? Yeah. Back in the
Last
day,
thing you're
they
thinking
would come
about
over the
is
fax
death,
machine, right?
yeah.
Because this is 1997, right? So they would come over the fax machine from the funeral home, and I would have to type it up, and it was really, really interesting. You get to read a lot of stories about people
Sure.
and just what they did and who they were, and it was always really interesting.
And
I
what?
thought.
And when you say interesting, can you be more specific? What was the impact of that on you?
Right.
Thinking about people's lives and how
Right?
they.
Yeah, exactly.
Giving you some frame of reference. As an
Right.
18-year-old, you have nothing behind you.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So when you're reading
Exactly.
about people who are dying in their 80s and 90s who had a lot behind them.
Right, yeah, for sure.
Or not in their 80s and 90s.
Right,
Correct.
yeah, that's
Correct.
true. Yeah, I did have. Oh gosh, it was always sad when you saw some come through.
A young person.
of a young person,
Yes.
or maybe even somebody I knew. Not personally. I mean,
Right.
There would be every once in a while, but like if there's somebody that I went to school with or something, who
Wow.
passed away tragically or things, it's definitely has an effect on you. But yeah.
So in that job, it sounds like you're getting a lot of rudimentary, good grassroots stuff having to do with the newspaper world.
Yeah, like letters to the editor. I would type those up. You know what I mean? Like people are angry or people are happy. Just sharing whatever
Right.
they wanted to share, and it was a great experience. Unfortunately, they couldn't keep up with once the digital age started coming in pretty fast there.
You couldn't necessarily be Dear Abby, but you could have been, Hey,
Right.
Allison.
Right? Yeah, I should have been.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would have been great.
Yeah. I eventually
From a kid's
did-
perspective.
Right, yeah, exactly. I eventually did get a part-time gig doing theater, previewing local theater shows and comedy shows and things like that. So I got to interview a lot of really cool people that were doing, like the guy who directed Rent. I got to interview him, and I got to interview some cast members, and I got to interview Mickey Rooney. Yeah,
Wow.
he was doing a play. Again, this was so long ago.
The
I can't
great
remember what
Mickey
it was.
Rooney.
Yeah, the great Mickey
I think
Rooney.
that's the
Yeah.
first time we've ever uttered the phrase Mickey Rooney on this
Right,
on this show. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. I got to interview a lot of
Yeah,
really
he's
cool
a little
people.
bit of a personal hero.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what a career.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. So I worked there for 3 years, and then I took a little hiatus, moved to New York City for a couple years. Tried various gigs there. I just wanted to live there. I love the energy of New York City, and I worked.
You're single?
Right, I'm single. Yeah, I'm 20 at this point. Yeah.
So wait a minute. Let's not pass over that too quickly.
Right. Okay. Yeah,
You're
yeah.
20 years old, and you decide to go to New York City.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I had like $1,000 in my pocket.
The
and
place that can cut you up like razor blades.
Yes, it can. It
Yeah.
can. Yeah.
So that took a lot of chutzpah.
Yeah, it took a lot of hoods. I was brave and stupid at the same time, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? Like, I should have.
Joe, she wore the tools of ignorance, is what they call the catcher's equipment, when she was a
Right.
softball player. So
Yeah.
she wasn't shy about taking foul balls off the mask.
No.
She knew what it was like to get hit by a bat that was thrown errantly. And you know, this is a tough girl. This is a girl that New York.
Right.
Yeah, bring it
Yeah.
on.
Yes.
Bring it on.
Yes.
Plus, I think ignorance and bravery can either kill you or grow you.
Right,
It's gonna
yeah,
do one
exactly.
of the two.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. Thankfully, it grew me. It
It
didn't
grew
kill
you.
me.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
Exactly.
That's very cool.
Exactly.
So now you're in New York.
Yeah, I'm in
and
New
you're
York.
there knocking around.
Yeah,
You're not working for newspapers.
No, not working for newspapers. First, I ended up getting a job as a promotional assistant for an actor who worked on a soap opera. So I was doing like newsletters and things for him. I was
Interesting.
having fan parties, you know, things like that, doing the chat room and his website and all that jazz. And then I ended up getting a job working for Dr. Joy Brown at she passed away several years ago, but she was a radio psychologist. She was actually the impetus for Frasier. Like, Frasier was always Frasier on Cheers.
Right.
But when he ended up having the radio show,
Which was great.
was the impetus from Joy
She
Brown.
was the inspiration.
Yeah, she
Interesting.
was. She was, yeah.
Huh.
So that was fantastic. I ended up doing, I'm living in New York and I'm trying to make it, you know what I mean? So,
Right.
working at a restaurant, working at the Olive Garden in Times Square. I worked at a bar that slung wings and things, but I couldn't waitress there or serve, whatever they call it these days, because I wasn't 21
You weren't 21 yet.
Yeah, I was kind of bummed.
Wow.
Yeah, I was kind of bummed.
Yeah, because it would have increased your tip average.
Right.
I'm
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
For sure it would have. Yeah. So I ended up trying to make. I just couldn't. You need to be. For me, I wanted to live in Manhattan, right? I didn't want to live, a half an hour, 45 minutes away. I wanted,
Right.
So, if I'd been more open, if I'd been older, smarter, wiser, I probably would still be there. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
living in Long
Mecca.
Island or living somewhere.
Right.
Brooklyn.
But, Brooklyn, exactly. Yeah. So I worked, I lived in, so when I first moved there, it was Brooklyn Heights. And then I moved to Queens, and then I moved to the Upper West Side. Upper West Side, like bordering Harlem type Upper West Side.
Okay.
I don't want to be like, Yeah. And then I ended up, having to move home back to Ohio, which crushed me. But I had a flight, so I was coming home moving home anyway. But my best friend was getting married on September 13th. She was getting married. This is 2001. So
2 days after.
yeah. So what
Wow.
happened was I was working at a bar at the time when September 11th happened. So I wouldn't get home until like 2 or 3 in the morning. So I was sleeping, and then we had the flip phones. I don't even know if it was on. I may have turned it off because
Right.
you don't use the flip phone like you use these, right? So anyway, I get my roommate knocks on the door. She's like, "You have a phone call," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I went to the phone, and it was actually one of the editors from my newspaper in Lorraine. They knew I lived in New York. They were like,
Can you correspond for us?
do you know what's going on? And I was like, how are you? What's going, give us some quote. I'm like,
I just woke up.
right. I was like, what do you mean? And then I look, and the TV's like, so I'm in the kitchen where the phone is, and the TV's like around the corner. And she's like,
Wake up.
Right. They didn't know at the time exactly what was happening. She's
course.
like, but the World Trade Center, a plane flew into the World Trade Center, and I'm like, what? So I looked around the corner to the TV because the roommate has it on. I'm like, why didn't you wake me up, roommate? This is kind of important, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But, so I was in Queens at the time, so I wasn't really, we could see, across the water, debris and things and smoke and things like that. But, I wasn't in the middle of it, but, thankfully. But, yeah, so it was a crazy time. I was already scheduled to fly home on September 12th. So it was the first day they opened up LaGuardia Airport. It was crazy because it was a ghost town.
Wow.
It was so crazy. But yeah, I made it home. was bummed.
Now, did you end up doing correspondence on the story?
No, because I didn't really.
Leaving the next day?
Right, yeah, exactly. And I lived in Queens. I didn't, I wasn't.
So you weren't really right there.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right.
So I think she maybe thought I was because I lived in New York and everybody
Right,
thinks New York
right.
is just Manhattan. Right, yeah, exactly.
right.
Exactly. So, so I moved home. It was an emotional time for me because, I felt like I'd failed. I felt like, I didn't do what I needed to do to be able to
Didn't get all the way there.
Right,
And
yeah,
again, this is the
yeah.
inexperience of youth because you're still young.
Exactly. Yeah, but now I think about it, and I'm like, well, yeah, a lot of people wouldn't have had the balls to go out there and do
100%.
that. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that I did it, and it was a great experience. I still love New York City. The shirts are right. I
It's
heart
there.
New York.
Right.
I mean,
It's
come
there.
on. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
It
for
is.
sure.
It is arguably our little.
But how
slice
long were you
of-
there?
Right,
How
right.
long were you there total?
A year and a half.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'd say a year
Not
and a
bad.
half in New York is
Papa,
pretty
she
good.
she scratched around and made it work for a year
Right,
and a half.
That's right.
Yeah,
which,
yeah.
That city consumes people in
It
a lot less
does.
time than that. Listen,
Right.
let's take a little pause right here for the cause, and let's go ahead and let everybody know who we are. When we come back from this little station ID, we're going to go ahead and give you the numbers that you can call and our email address in case you've got a question for Allison and you'd like to join the conversation.
I'm Diane Egner, and you are listening to The Conversation with Mario Nunez and Joe King Carter on WMNF 88.5 FM in Tampa.
Thank you so much, Diane. There's your boss.
Right,
There we
yeah,
go.
yeah.
She was wonderful. Very
Good to hear her
compelling
voice.
story that she had to share with us last week. So if you'd like to join in and you have a question or a comment for us, 813-239-9663. You can always send us a text, 813-433-0885. Joe Remo, who is working our board today, standing in for Jessica Green.
Hello.
Well, there is Joe. Thank you, Joey. He'll take your emails and share them with us on the air. DJ@WMNF.org.
Yes. Now, so you've returned home.
Yeah, I returned home. Yeah, I'm a little downtrodden.
A little crestfallen.
Right, yeah,
Right.
for sure.
A word I don't use in public too often
Right, yeah.
because nobody knows what it means.
Right, yeah, exactly. I ended up getting the gal who filled my position at the newspaper wanted to go to a different department. So I ended up getting my job back at the newspaper,
wow.
which was like, when does that ever happen?
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah.
Serendipitous.
Right,
I
for
mean,
sure.
you know,
Yeah, 100%.
universe is conspiring. Mm-hmm. Let's help Allison out.
Right. Yeah. So I ended
needs
up
some love.
working there for another 3 years. During that time, I was friends with my future husband. We ended up getting together. He lived in Michigan, in Detroit, so it wasn't very far, from where I was or anything. But so we ended up getting together, moving in together. So he moved down to Ohio. And I was still working at the newspaper and working at Subway at night just to kind of, do my thing. I was a sandwich artist.
There you
right?
go.
Right?
You know how to do that gouge.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah,
you gouge.
they don't do that anymore.
I know, but back
makes
then
me
it was the
sad,
you
but
gouge.
that's what it was.
Right,
It
you
took
gouge.
a lot of skill.
Hey,
I'll
listen,
tell
I
you.
had me a couple of Subway
Right.
sandwiches in my day.
Sometimes I'll go in there when I do, and I'll be like, "Hey, can you do the you gouge?" And they're like, "What? What are you talking about, you gouge?"
Oh, they had posters on the,
Right, they
to
did.
let everybody
Yeah,
know.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was with my boyfriend. We were living together. We ended up getting married in Vegas on purpose. Like, who gets married in Vegas on purpose? Like, hardly anybody, right? But we got married in Vegas.
Elvis is the best man. You know how this Marilyn Monroe is the
exactly.
maid of honor.
Exactly. He wanted to move back to Michigan. So I was like, well, let's look into that. You know what I mean? So I ended up getting it because, it requires you have to have a job. So ended up getting a job for a company called Saga Communications and their mid-sized market TV and radio station headquarters. So that was in Grosse Pointe Farms, Michigan. You may have heard of Grosse Pointe.
Grosse Pointe, sure,
Grosse
of
Pointe
course.
Blank, all those things.
Yes.
So
Nice neighborhood.
Very nice neighborhood.
Grosse Pointe.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Better have some coin,
Yes, yeah, for sure. So I worked 8 years for Saga Communications after we moved to Michigan, obviously. And what did I do after that? My goodness. Okay, so
What was that gig?
yeah, that gig. Oh, yeah. I should probably tell you what that was about.
Yeah.
I was an administrative assistant, so similar to what I was doing at the newspaper, but
Okay.
a little bit different. So I was assisting like the HR people in the finance department and doing just a whole bunch of different different things. You know, just try to keep busy and learn new things.
Once again, developing a skill set.
Right, exactly,
There we go.
exactly. Yeah.
Have you acquired enough of that skill set? Have you tasted enough of that from that fountain to know that this might be a career path for you, or are you still kind of trying to work that out?
Right, yeah. Well, honestly,
When did you sink your teeth into doing journalism?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I didn't. So what happened there was, I was an admin for 25 years, right? The last admin gig that I had was for the Alliance of American Football. They had the business office was in Tampa, downtown Tampa, in the Wells Fargo building.
Mm-hmm.
It was a league. They tried to do like a farm league for the NFL. It's similar to the XFL, except it ended up not.
A developmental league, like you have in basketball.
Yeah. Yeah, it ended up not working. I don't think they even finished the season. It folded after, I was there for maybe 6 months. But it was really cool because, I was an executive assistant there, and I was working for Troy Polamalu and Heinz Ward.
And his beautiful hair.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I'm a Steelers fan. So the fact that I got
you
to work
must
for
have
these
been in
guys,
your
I
moments.
was. Yeah, I got to meet them, and it was pretty amazing. So it folded, and shortly thereafter, my aunt passed away, and I got an inheritance from that, which obviously super, it's unfortunate anytime a relative passed away, but it was sort of one of those things where the inheritance came at the right time, right? I just lost my job. I was lucky enough. I was living with my boyfriend. I was married for 12 years. We got divorced. 3 months later, I met a guy, and I was with him for 9 years. He's the reason why I'm here ultimately, because he was living here when we met. And so I moved down here, lived with him. So I was in the situation where I didn't have to pay rent. You know what I mean? Like the house was paid for. He was the grocery. He was the guy. You know what I mean? Like I really didn't have a lot of expenses. Mm-hmm. I paid off a lot of debt when I got my inheritance. My boyfriend was like, hey, I've always written. I've always been a writer on the side. You know what I mean?
Journaling? Did you do some journaling as well? Personal, private journaling?
As a kid,
Sure,
man, I still have a lot of them, which is cool. But so he encouraged me. Hey, why don't you try writing? Make money writing. And I'm like, well, that's kind of a great idea, right? Mm-hmm. So I ended up, researching that, and there was a company called My Area Network that I ended up doing some work for here in. They cover a bunch of different areas. So I wrote a lot of stories about events, and I interviewed people, and it was wonderful. And then where did I go from there? 83 Degrees was probably shortly thereafter.
I was thinking.
Yeah, 83 Degrees. I ended up hooking up with Diane, and a mentor of mine, he was writing for 83 Degrees. That's how I ended up finding out about it. And I met with Diane, and it was immediately just wonderful because she's a wonderful person. And got to meet a lot. And it was wonderful because it was I had only lived in Tampa for maybe 2 or 3 years. So I was still getting my sea legs, you know what I mean? And so it was a great experience to be able to meet people and network with people and, make connections and try and grow as a writer, but also as a person, right?
Compared to the upper Midwest, right?
Right,
Where
yeah,
you were
right,
born
exactly.
and raised.
Yeah.
And of course, Michigan as well.
Right.
How did you initially find Tampa? Did you find it oppressively hot and, oh my God,
Right,
this humidity?
yeah.
Or did you say, wow, man, look at the beaches. This is cool. Because, the lakes are one thing.
Right.
But the beaches are completely a different thing.
Yeah, exactly. I was surprised at how quickly I acclimated because I moved here in July.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay.
right?
All right.
So, and obviously it's hot in the Midwest in July, but it's not nothing it's
No
warm
comparison.
compared to here.
Yeah, that's correct.
Even though it's probably the same temperature, it's a totally different, you know what I mean?
And the skeeters and the lightning.
Yeah, all that jazz. Yeah, But yeah, no, I acclimated quickly. I don't mind, I don't work outside. You know what I mean? So I don't have to deal with it's sort of people always tell me, oh, it's so hot. I was like, well, but if you compared it to Ohio in the winter, right? Nobody was outside in the wintertime in Ohio. Right. So it's sort of similar
The
down
last
here in
time
the
I
summer.
checked, Allison, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't have to sweep the sidewalk from rain.
Right, no,
you know
you
what I mean? You
don't.
don't got to go out there and shovel that rain off your sidewalk.
No, you can. But
I don't know how people do
anywhere.
that. Even with the snow blowers, even with
Right,
with the equipment and all the accoutrement that you might possibly have in your garage
Yeah.
or your shed.
Yeah.
Why? Why would
Yeah.
you want to do that?
I actually enjoyed it, to be honest with you. When I like because I put on my headphones. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's a physical activity, so I get where you can get some, some physical fitness out of it. But man, you get to a certain point when you get to be about like in your 40s, you go, okay, man, look, that's like cutting grass. It's the same thing. You know, cutting grass down here. You can do it when you're a young man, and if you can push that mower, push it. No, you get a little workout, drink a glass of tea afterwards or a couple of beers, and you go, wow, look at me, I did such great work.
Yeah.
You get into your 40s, you go, man, if I have to start that mower one more time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I live in an apartment.
There you go. So you're here and you start
83 degrees.
And you're doing focusing a lot on sports writing?
Yeah, 83 degrees actually wasn't at all sports writing, but I ended up having my mentor who ended up hooking me up with the 83 degrees job said, I'd mentioned to him.
Who is that mentor?
Pat Yasinskis.
Okay.
Yes.
Could you spell Yasinskis if you had to?
Right. No, probably actually, but it will take too long.
We won't put you on the spot.
Right? Yeah. So he used to work. He grew up working for like ESPN, like back when, the writers were really the focus of the whole deal. And he covered the NFC South. So he had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the
Falcons.
Carolina Panthers, the Atlanta Falcons,
New Orleans Saints.
Right. All those guys. Yeah. You know the division because Buccaneers.
That's us.
Right.
Exactly.
But we were in the North for a while now.
Right, yeah.
Minnesota, Green Bay, and Chicago.
Steelers used to be in the AFC Central.
Yeah, no, there was a realignment a few years ago.
Was,
I'm glad to see that happen because, sidebar.
Sure.
We for the longest time, and this is a point of contention, and Allison, we love you, and we're so happy that you're here with us today, but you have to join us in this cause. Forevermore, amen. You have to remind people that Tampa Bay is that illustrious body of water out there where we go fishing and crabbing and skiing. And Tampa is the city proper because for many, many years, the 30 years that we were in the same division with Green Bay, and Green Bay, oh, by the way, listeners, is an actual city.
It is.
On the map with an actual zip code.
Right.
Green Bay, Wisconsin. It was confusing.
Right, it was.
So if you were here from Hibbing, Minnesota or Pocatello, Idaho, you couldn't tell the difference between Green Bay, Wisconsin and Tampa Bay, Florida.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so I'm off my soapbox.
No, you're right. You're right.
I'm going to give it back to you, the microphone back to you, but please help us with that.
Right, I will.
As a scribe, as a professional journalist.
Like, Tampa Bay is all the things. Right? You know what I mean? And
it's the region. We get it. Don't send us any emails. We get it. I understand it.
Right.
But we just got through watching the Final Four, the women's Final Four. And in center court right there, the big NCAA March Madness logo in the bottom of it, it said Tampa Bay, Florida. It's like, get out of here. Get out of here right now.
That just makes things worse. It makes things more confusing.
Amalie Arena is in Tampa, Florida. Get out of here.
Think about it. It's not really fair to St. Pete.
Thank you.
It's not really fair to
Clearwater.
Dunedin.
Clearwater,
Dunellen. It's not fair to them to say they live in the Tampa Bay area.
Right, yeah.
So
that's why they don't like us.
Yeah,
Okay, back to Allison. Back to Allison.
Right, yeah.
Back to Allison.
So Pat had said, he knew I was into football. Pat had said to me, I've got a friend who works for USA Today Sports. He's an editor there. Why don't you give him a call, see if he's got any openings. So I'm like, sweet. So I call this guy, and he's like, we actually have, USA Today has a group of websites called the NFL Wire sites. So there's a Buccaneers Wire, there's a Steelers Wire. Any team of any sport you can think of, there's a something wire, the name of the team and wire. So he's like, there's an opening at Steelers Wire. And I'm like, what? Like, what are the chances, right? I was willing to write about any team. But when you can write about your own team that you're passionate about, right? Like, it comes across.
Sure does.
I would hope to the reader anyway, the passion and things. So I ended up writing for Steelers Wire. So I'm doing 83 Degrees, My Area Network, Steelers Wire. Steelers Wire was great because ended up getting like a lot of PR firms. Like if Troy Polamalu is doing a shampoo commercial, you know what I mean? You can interview him as long as you mention the shampoo commercial or link to the shampoo commercial, you know what I mean? You can interview him and talk to him about anything. So I got to interview him, which was cool. I'm like, hey man, I was your admin. He's like, yeah, I remember that. You know what I mean? So
Is he as nice as he comes across?
He's super nice,
Genuine?
super quiet. Like he's so.
Do you remember Allison? And I know you do. You were probably there in Canton when he went into the Hall of Fame. When he went up to the microphone and he took
Right,
off his,
yeah.
and all of his hair. He shook his hair. But Joe is. Joe and I are opposites in this regard
Right.
because Joe is not the sports fan that you and I are.
Yeah.
So when you mentioned Troy Polamalu, he probably might know him from the commercial, not necessarily.
I know who he is.
There you go.
Okay, well, there
so
you go,
you know
yeah.
he's got that
Absolutely.
luxurious
Yeah,
hair.
he does,
But
he does.
but he was nice. He was
Yeah,
nice.
he's very, very nice, very kind, very soft spoken, just wonderful.
Very Polynesian.
Yeah,
very
extremely
There you
extremely Polynesian. He always has his hair back. 9 times out of 10, anytime I met him, always has his hair back. It was almost like a personality, right? Like he would take it out to play always, but when he was warming up, if he was on the sideline or whatever, he would always have it pulled back. So yeah, just really interesting guy. He doesn't live like he's Troy Polamalu. You know what I mean? Like he probably shops at thrift stores. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't wear anything fancy. Or
Probably
anything.
came up like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably came up like
exactly.
that. Well, he's
exactly.
the Dwayne Johnson and The Rock. You know, he's got
Right.
Dwayne Johnson and then
yeah,
The Rock.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Two different people.
Yeah, two different
Right.
personas for sure. Yeah, so worked for Steelers Wire for 5 years, and then I ended up. The XFL came along, and they had a team here in Tampa Bay. Again, my mentor hooked me up because he was writing. They hired him to do a column, an XFL wide column. He's like, I think they're looking for, it was Tampa Bay Vipers. They're now in Vegas, unfortunately. Tampa Bay Vipers needed somebody to cover the Vipers. So I ended up getting that gig. It was fantastic. Mark Trestman, I don't know if you know that name. He was a head coach of the Bears for a little while.
The Bears.
He's well known in the Canadian League. He's one of the Canadian teams. He's got
Like a GM or an owner, part owner?
he's a coach. I can't mind. The name escapes me, the name of the team, but they won the Grey Cup a bunch. So he's really good. Anyway, Mark Trestman was the head coach of the Tampa Bay Vipers. So that was really cool because working for Steelers Wire, I'm out of market, right? So I don't get to go to the game. I mean, I could, but
you'd have to fly up there.
But I have to fly up there, and USA Today, and then I got to cover those expenses. So, so it was awesome because I got to be in the press room. Right, I got to be after the games and things. I got to be sitting there with the press.
Press pass.
Right,
Ask a question.
Right. Coaches are up there, players are up there. It was a really different experience for me. You know what I mean? Like I
How did you grow from that, Allison?
Yeah, it was great. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. You learn a lot about like the intricacies of like, when they come out from a game, it's like it's instant, right? You get to ask them about the game and how things went and before I was like, if I was interviewing people on Zoom or on the phone or things, it's a totally different experience.
Well, it's 2
right?
weeks after they have a moment to
Right,
reflect
yeah,
or whatever
exactly.
that is.
Right. Yeah.
You're catching them in the heat of the moment.
Right.
Be careful with your questions.
Right, yeah, yes, for sure. But yeah, you get worked up, and it's a different kind of adrenaline when you're
Different kind
actually
of energy.
sitting with the press and interviewing them after games and things.
So you're kind of getting a cream.
Yeah.
There's cream that's come to the top there that's different. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
How much were you loving that? Because I'm getting a sense, and those of you listening, you're listening to Allison Kohler, and she is a scribe, professional journalist with 83 degrees. And if you haven't sensed it by now, I think her dream job would be working with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers somewhere
right.
in their media. So
Yeah,
listen, she's
yeah.
not going to leave 83 degrees anytime soon, but
Right.
we're getting a sense that when you said earlier, you said, no, football was it for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
Your eyes light up when you talk about football.
Yeah, I love it. It's 100%.
And it's a
in
shame
my
that your
veins.
Brownies haven't been good for a long time.
No.
Detroit's just
Steelers.
now coming back into
Not the
prominence.
Brownies.
Yeah,
Right,
no.
Well, right. The
But I'm
Steelers
saying
haven't been good for a long time either.
your hometown, yes.
Right.
Since
Yeah, the Browns
Big Ben
were-
retired.
Yeah, right. He hasn't been. Yeah, they haven't been the same. It's
Trying to get their
unfortunate.
footing at quarterback.
Yeah, they are. They've had, like 4 or 5 different quarterbacks, and it's just, not just starters, but
They're bringing-
try
they're
and
bringing
draft
guys from the outside,
and
yeah.
they end up not being able to.
Listen, the
develop
NFL has got to be one of the hardest professional sports leagues to really succeed. And, they talk about baseball where, it's hard to get there. It's even harder to stay.
Right.
I think with football, it's just hard to get there, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but then COVID happened and XFL shut down.
right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I was like,
So where
dang,
are
is
you
it me?
again?
I was like, is it me? I'm like, all these things I'm getting involved in are shutting down. What's going on?
El gato negro, which is black cat for those
right,
of you that
yes.
are listening at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Bad luck, Allison.
Right. Yeah. So I'm still writing for Steelers Wire at the time. I ended up joining another football outlet called Heavy on Sports. I got to cover the Steelers, but I got to cover like all the other teams if I wanted to, you know. And then Pro Football Network came along, which is a really like a site that I read a lot. You know what I mean? Even
as a reference point.
Yeah,
no?
Exactly. I would get aggregate. You know what I mean? Because Steelers Wire is generally an aggregate.
Link to.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So I really admired their work. And now I'm writing for them. So I'm no longer writing for Steelers Wire. I'm writing exclusively sports-wise. I'm writing exclusively for Pro Football Network. And that's just been amazing.
Is that distinct from the NFL Network? And make that distinction for us.
Yeah. So no, it's different. It's different, but they have they're the guys that founded it. You know, they all come from ESPN. They all come from like these major brands, and they started it, and it's just been growing like leaps and bounds. You know what I mean? Like it's.
Well, there's enough content out there that you can.
There's content for days. Yeah, especially with I write trending news. And there's always stuff trending, right? Because, I mean, somebody,
it's the NFL.
Jason Kelsey goes on a podcast, he has a podcast.
Correct.
You know what I mean? But if a player goes on a guy's podcast and says, talks smack to another player, it's like, oh gosh, it's headlines.
Bulletin board material.
That's all people want to read but it's almost a soap opera magazine of the football world.
So what you're doing now, even though you are writing for 83 Degrees, you're really a sort of sports freelance writer?
Yeah, well...
Is that how you would characterize it?
How do you classify yourself?
Yeah. I'd say I'm a freelance writer because I am just, I'm an independent contractor, 1099. But I ended up recently getting, they liked my work at Pro Football Network, and they ended up hiring me as a copy editor. So I'm doing part-time, actual like W-2 stuff for like the first time in a long time.
Cool. Benefits, insurance benefits.
Yeah, well, I'm part-time.
Dental plan.
So
Come on.
Unfortunately, it's 29 hours. But so I go through the marketplace.
Let's get you there.
That's okay.
We're going to
all
give you
of
the
that-
conversation bump, Allison. By the way, after this show, we're going to give you the conversation bump, and you're going to find yourself now with more opportunities than you thought could ever come across your desk before. At least that's what we're hoping for.
Because we make people famous here.
Come on. We're almost famous ourselves, Joey.
Not hardly. But so I just want to be clear about in my mind how you're doing this. You're sort of so almost all of your work in a digital sense is all through. Your interviews are most often not in person.
Right, correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're doing phone interviews. You're doing online Zoom stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, 9 times out of 10. So since I've been with Pro Football Network, I've just been doing trending news. So I haven't interviewed any. I mean, I've just been there since January. But Steelers Wire was more where I got to do like interview the Steelers players, which was a lot of fun. For PR pieces mainly, but. Yeah, so while I was with Heavy Sports, though, they knew I was in Tampa, and so they asked me on a couple of occasions to go cover training camp.
Okay.
So Greg Allman, who worked for Fox Sports, he covered the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for The Athletic for a long time, and now I think he's with Fox or CBS or something now. But so I kind of followed him around because I'd never been to a training camp on a professional level. I'd been to Steelers training camp as a fan, but it's a totally different experience, right? So I followed Greg around.
Because you're on the inside now.
Right,
you're on
yeah,
the
exactly. Yeah. I followed Greg around. So that was really cool. So that was another situation where, after practice, they would set up a tent, you know what I mean? And the players would go in there and I got to do live interviews with them. So that was great.
With about 10 minutes left, a little less than that in show, let's ask Allison, is there a dream? Is there a vision? Is there something that if you could really script out the next 10, 15 years of your story, where would you like to see yourself going? What do you see yourself doing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm really enjoying this. You know what I mean? Like I'm really
wash,
enjoying...
rinse, repeat, don't mess it up.
Yeah, exactly. I've just got to keep it going, right? Because freelance life, it could be tough. Right?
Yeah. 1099 world is
exactly.
difficult.
And PFN could be like, hey,
thanks, you did a great job,
exactly,
but we're going in a different direction.
Right, exactly.
So all of this, this long history of legwork has put you onto the launch platform where you are now making these connections, and
Right.
therefore you have gigs.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
And that took all of that for that to happen.
Yeah. I'm more. I mean, you guys can probably tell. Like, I'm a doer. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
a type A.
I think when you're sleepy, your leg is still shaking in the bed. You're vibrating.
Yeah, it is. Oh,
you're
I have
vibrating in the bed.
restless leg syndrome for sure. No doubt about that. Yeah, and restless hand syndrome.
Right.
That's all I do.
We've
is
got
on
it
top of
too.
my
I'm
hand.
telling
Exactly.
you.
Yeah,
Listen,
yeah.
we got HD TV,
Right,
Joey and I.
right.
We got
Yeah,
all that
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Your mind is hard to shut it off.
It is.
And news coming at us in a 24-hour cycle like it does now. And if we're consumed with it like Joe and I are, and we talk
Right.
about it, and it's just all encompassing. So, yeah, it's hard to disconnect from all of that. Of course, we have our phones in our pockets. So, really and truthfully, unless you turn your phone off, it's impossible to disconnect from it.
Right,
But if you're following trending news, as Allison Kohler does, she needs to have that phone on.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I
Yeah.
got my phone, I got my watch, I got all my things. Just plugging it in, you know what I mean? Just giving me the news and
So when you're not writing, what do you do? What are you doing?
How do you have fun?
yeah, I like
What
to.
do you do for fun?
It's a nice balance of chilling at home. You know what I mean, and hanging out with friends. Like I like to like everybody. I like to stream Netflix and Hulu and
There you go.
and HBO Max.
What's on your watch list?
Gosh, I love right now. I'm big into Shrinking on Apple TV.
Okay.
It's got Harrison Ford and
Can't go
Jason. Right, yeah, Jason somebody. I don't know why I'm spacing
Not
on his name.
Sudeikis. No, not Jason
No, it's not
Sudeikis.
Sudeikis. Oh gosh.
Somebody's yelling at the radio right now. Send us an
exactly.
email.
Right, yeah. I don't know why
Call
I can't
us
think
and
of
tell
his
us.
name. Right, but Shrinking's great. Ted Lasso, like I was late
There's
to Ted
Jason
Lasso.
Sudeikis.
That's Sudeikis.
Yes.
I was late to Ted Lasso. I don't know why. I was just late to it, but Ted Lasso. I like a lot of true crime documentaries. You know what I mean? I'm one of those people.
Have you happened upon, and it's network TV, but have you happened upon Sunday evenings on CBS, Watson? Have you happened upon that yet?
No, I've seen a version of it.
Really
but
good
not
stuff.
That one.
Really good stuff.
Yeah,
They of course, it's Watson, Sherlock Holmes, Watson, and they're solving medical mysteries.
Right, yeah.
And the neat part about it is that each of the shows that they do are featured because those were actual medical maladies, medical infirmities, something that happened that they were actually able to solve it. So
Right.
they're taking their reference points
And
from...
it's a modern day, right?
Oh, it's very modern day.
Yes,
Very hip, very
See,
cool.
I watched
Good acting.
a version with Benedict Cumberbatch a long time ago where it was
a little stage.
more periodic.
So let, me
Right,
say,
right, period
so
piece.
let me say that when I asked you the question about what you do when
Right.
you're not writing,
Yeah.
I just automatically assumed, interesting.
She was raising parakeets, or
No, that she's like out on the court playing some kind of, she's doing sports all the
swinging a
time.
golf club or something?
Something.
No, I got a bad
anything.
back. I can't be
Running,
doing that anymore.
jogging,
There you
biking.
go. There you go.
I do like fitness. I have a VR headset. I'm a big fan of virtual reality.
Okay.
But I also like walking. I'm one of those.
I mean,
Joey.
you look like an athletic person.
Of
Yes.
course.
Right. Yeah.
Joey,
Anyway.
so
right.
and we've only got like less than 5 minutes left in the show. Quick 30 seconds on VF.
VR.
VR, forgive me,
Yeah.
virtual reality.
Yeah.
On that, because I've never had a set of goggles on, and neither has Joe, I
Oh.
don't think. And I don't know if I would get would I get lost in that thing? What's
I
happening
mean,
there?
you could.
Would I
right?
never
So
come out? Would I never see my family again?
I mean, some people don't. No, it's just basically it's just an amazing world, right?
Yes.
You put on your headset and
It's
you can
another
go
world.
anywhere.
Immersion,
You can
total
go anywhere.
immersion.
Totally immersion. And there's also mixed reality, right? So you can be in your living room, like you can see your living room, but you could be doing combat things. You could be boxing. Like I'm a big fan of boxing, the boxing games. That's kind
That's
of where I
fitness.
get
That's
my
fitness.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah.
fitness.
When I'm done,
Throwing punches, you're
when
worked
I'm
up a
done,
sweat.
I'm sweating. Yeah, it's like the Wii. You remember
Wii
the
bowling. Wii bowling.
Yeah.
I loved
Yeah,
it. I
yeah.
got
But
good
it's
at it.
to the max.
Yeah.
It's to the max.
Well, of course, this is
'cause
next gen.
Yeah. The graphics they're just beautiful. You could be anywhere. You could be in Australia. You could be
Joey.
in Africa. You could be anywhere.
We're headed toward the Matrix, my brother.
Right, I'm
We're
telling
headed
you.
towards
Yeah.
the Matrix.
Oh, absolutely. It's
I'll have
coming.
to bring it by sometime. You guys
Have
can test
mercy.
it. It's pretty.
We would
interesting.
love to see
Well,
that.
you know,
one.
Right.
you can enter other worlds by reading books. folks.
Oh, you can.
That's
If
the
I
old,
didn't have
but that's for old people. Young people don't read no more, man. They
I
play
have
By the way,
like
I want to say
ADHD, I
real
can't
quick.
read
I want to
like that.
get this in. That real quick. I meant to get this in
Sarah
at the beginning of the
McNamara.
show. Yeah, we have two big events happening in Ybor City this week, and one is that has to do with Ybor's history. And number one is tonight for free, ladies and gentlemen, at the Ybor campus, HCC Community College in Ybor City at 6 o'clock. Dr. Sarah McNamara is going to be talking about her work and her book and The Crucible of the South, which is a much-needed, important story about the history of Latinas in the revolutionary state of America during the late 1800s and early Ybor City. That's free. If you register, you can also get free parking, folks. That's happening tonight. And then this Friday night at 7:30 at the Commodore, they're going to be doing Salute and Happy Days as they do once a month. But the guest tonight of this Friday night is going to be Dr. Gary Moramino, who is kind of the man in terms of Ybor history.
All right, who's coming up next? Quickly, Joe.
Who's coming up next is, well, first of all, let me say thank you to
Joe
Remo for sitting in for Jessica Green. And coming up next, Jim Bannon is over there. He's forming the CDs, and he's creating the Governor of Grooves. So stay tuned.
Let me just say, Allison, it's been a gas having you on
Thank
today.
you.
And we'll
Thank
we'll keep up with you.
Yeah.
We'll have you back again because
good.
we love this conversation. We love
Yeah.
your energy, baby.
Thank you for having
we
me.
met you at Salute and Happy Days.
Yes,
I met
you
you at
did.
Salute and
Yes.
Happy
Yes,
Days.
right.
For everybody listening today, thank you so much. We'll be here again next Wednesday. You're listening to WMNF 88.5 Tampa.